right, guys, welcome back to part two of what is a quorum and how we use quorum or node majority. Um, Again, my name is Sal Cosentino. I'm your trainer, cloud architect, and future MCT. Uh, and today is May 24th, 2025. Uh, this is our part two, one-on-one. See if I can uh, insert, and I will be putting in my company logo. All right. All right. Big. Putting this at the bottom here. All right. All right. Welcome. Uh, welcome. It's here at the bottom here. And I will be designing my card, and I will be making this red, or I'll be making this a darker gray, and I'll be bringing this to the front. There you go. All right, guys, welcome back. And I will be bringing this to the back. All right. All right, guys. All right. Here's my new design first. And again, my name is Sal Cosentino, your architect. Be making this a little darker for you guys to see, and I'll be doing that as well too. I'll be making this black and bold, and I'll be making this bold and black. All right, awesome. All right, guys, thank you very much for joining. All right, here you go. Thank you very much. So again, tonight's part two quorum. I'm your trainer, future MCT Sal Cosentino. Today's May 24th, 2025. Um, I know in our last session we talked about I'll be making a header for my design here. And I'll make this as quick as possible. And okay, all right, cool. That's my design today. I'll be bringing this title to the front. All right. Well, here's my design for now. And I can have my to and from if I want, whatever I want at this point. Um, I'm going to make this a little bit. Make this, there you go. See if I can make this similar. All right. And I will be making this black. And I will be, there you go. Okay. So sorry about that, guys. I just want to design this quickly. I'm in the middle of designing some stuff here. I love designing. There you go. By no means a professional designer, but I am a designer in this fact where I can design my own design in my own environment. And again, I know in our last session we talked about what did we talk about? We discussed what is quorum in a servers. We discussed why it matters, why quorum matters, the different types of models, and the difference between the node majority rule, which is sort of similar, like we discussed before, is also known as a quorum, right? And then your disk node majority for shared disk gets a vote. And then you have your node and filed share majority, which is your vote majority, and then a no vote majority, which is your disk only. We also talked about Visio subscriptions, okay? And we did use visual subscriptions. Uh, Let me sign into my. And in this session, I'm going to show you guys how to uh, prove my sign-in requests using my Authenticator app, and your Authenticator app can be downloaded on a device. I'm going to prove that, and shortly you will see it approve. Just make note, you guys, in your environment, all your users must have MFA enabled um, in order for you guys to move along. So I want to make sure before I start anything, before I start uh, out of that post there. Okay, so close this out of the way. Okay, there you go. So I should have, if I don't have uh, Visio installed, I should be able to install it here, but it looks like I don't have it. So let's take a look at my subscription um, and see if my subscription allows for that. No, I don't have that yet. Um, in my subscription, we'll have a Microsoft 365 E3 license with no Teams, and then I should be able to install the Visio license, premium license, which is our plan two, and that'll give me all the icons that I need for that for my architectures, and gonna ensure that I have it installed here. Once it's done, I will make sure that it's added to my user. So I'll make sure that my user has it. I'm just going to add it to my user. I'm just going to assign the license. So I'll log into my admin portal and go to my license and apps, and I will give it the. Um, I'll show you what I'm doing in a second. Uh, should take a little bit of time. I'll show you on my end how this works. Hopefully it makes it quicker. Should get it now, hopefully. If not, I'll just have to sign in again to my landing page. All right, click next. Yeah, there we go. There you go. I have my signed my license here. My license is right now. So I, I want to show you guys. Um, Obviously, I want to show you guys the different apps that I have now. I don't have any apps per se, but hopefully that would change. And if I should have it here, yeah, my Visio. I should have my Visio here, which is good. But I want to show you guys how to purchase yourselves through the marketplace, um, which is your volume licensing for your VL SC, which was back in the days. And I want you to do that, and I want you to try the different um, uh, subscriptions that are available for you to try and yourselves in your own environments. Um, and again, I want you guys to share your thoughts and your comments with me. Um, you know, want to make sure that you guys are doing this yourselves and following along. And again, follow me. I'll send you the links and all that stuff to my WhatsApp channel. Send me your links, photos, reports of you doing it, and I can showcase it on some of my future videos, right? So showcase it on your website. That way you have um, some visibility on it, right? So you can add that to your resume, especially when you're going in for an interview. Um, so I'm going to show you. Uh, I'm going to add the license first, and then I'll show you how to do it. So I'm going to add it on my area here. So I'm going to go to the marketplace, and hopefully go to all products, and I'm going to go to Visio and go for the free trial. Right? And I'm going to click next. And I'm going to go with the Plan 2 license, which is what I need right now. And I'm going to add it. I'm going to start the free trial. And I'll show you what it looks like. Um, so I will try that now. Okay. And then I'll apply it to my subscription or my user. So typically what you're doing is you're going to all products, and I want to show you the differences between plan 1 and plan 2. So I'm going to the marketplace myself, and I'm going to go buy it. Similar to anybody who wants to do the same thing. You want something, you got to go to the marketplace and buy it. You got to go to the store and buy it. You got to go to the cloud, your e-commerce site, and purchase it, right? Um, your SKU, for your specific SKUs and your users and your environments, right? So I'm going to type in Visio, right, for Quorum, and in this instance, I'm going to, you know, purchase the Plan 2 license, right? In my instance, I've already purchased it, right? So I'm gonna select details, and I'm going to look at the different plans, right? And this is where I can either buy or manage the trial. I've already bought the trial, right? And I can run this up to 5 PCs, right? My Windows 10, 11, 8, or 7 if I need to, and purchase it based on the license quantity, right? So if I want to buy, let's say I want to buy 10 licenses for today, right? And I can just click on buy. Um, right, and then basically go in and buy the applications and whatnot. So I want to show you something that might help you with what you're looking for, right? And again, you could start the different free trials, right? Right, with the plans. So make sure that your plans are, you could start your free trials this way. And within here, you should be able to see what's included and what's not included. Just remember the green circles, right? So you have your Visio, you have your Visio Online, you have your OneDrive, right? You have your storage, you have file share. In Visio Plan 2, it gives you 2 gigs of storage, and you're also able to now share it. Just make sure that you read the the comparison details, and make sure that you have all the comparison details uh, before you purchase the product, right? Again, we can manage your trial here, but like I said, I've already purchased it, and I'm going to assign it to my user. Hopefully, should be able to assign it to my user. I'm going to go ahead and do that here on my section here, and then I'll show you. So similar, you go to users, go to active users, right? Go to active users, and then within here you add your licenses, right? So you can click here. Um, if I already have it, let's see my licenses. Do I have it? Yeah, I do. So I'm going to go back to my license and apps. And in here, you see my Visio 2 plan license. I click on that and then sign save changes. And this will give me 3 subscriptions or or trials that will expire soon. So again, I have a certain amount of time um, to use it, right? Based on my date and time. And again, I can track what it includes and what it entails. And as you can see, what we talked about earlier, it has your Visio web app, your desktop app, and your business basics, right? I'm gonna click OK and save those changes. Save changes again, and give it a refresh, refresh, refresh. So if we go back to our applications in our cloud environment, I should now have um, Visio as a Plan 2 license, right? So I should now be able to use, um, oh, saying create a new drive from OneDrive. Okay, fair enough. Let's see what happens now. All right, so it's saying to create it might take a little bit of time as it's fresh. This does happen. Um, it's brand new. So as that's going, I want to discuss again how to use the diff. We discussed that, and again, that's how you physically buy it today. And I showed you today how to, like I showed you how to use it, but in this video today, um, I discussed we discussed how to add your subscription to Visio Plan 2 and this and comparison details, right? So it's important to understand the difference between Plan 1 and Plan 2 and how these licenses uh, for or these subscriptions or products work, and how we can assign them to specific users and groups. So this might take a little bit of time. This takes a little bit of time sometimes. That's fine. Um, there's an issue here or something I'm not aware of. Let me see. Let me see if I can refresh it. Yeah, see, it's taking a little bit of time here. Um, Active users. I do have the Visio plan too, so it's just taking a little bit of time to come up. I will confirm within my Entra portal. Right, so I'll go to my users. Right now I only have uh this one user, right? And then I should see whether or not it applied yet. Yeah, so it looks like it did apply. So that's good. We have that specific license. Um, and view apps here. So I should now be able to install my Skype for Business, which is now deprecated, or my Visio on-prem. So I'm going to go ahead and install my on-prem just to kind of give you guys the look and feel of what Visio looks like in your designs and your architectures. Because when I design my own, I like, like I said, I can use many applications. There's many ways of using these and architecting my designs and getting my stencils for them. So I want to make sure I'm prepared as an architect that to get my stencils ready for my Azure environment, for my GCP, my Google Cloud, or my AWS environments, right? So when I'm designing compute or storage or networking, I have those widely available for me. So I'm going to go ahead and install both the on-prem and see if that works for now. And hopefully by then I should be able to, um, hopefully it should be able to work. So let's wait while that happens. Hopefully my sharing, second. Okay, so that'll continue. I'm saving my 1 point, yeah, and that'll hopefully install it, which is what we want to do. So as that's installing, um, in the back, uh, so I'm gonna go ahead and install it, and it's just getting those ready. Hopefully my cloud works. Takes a little bit of time. Should have been quick. And so that's me. Let's go to my apps and that's unable to create new drawing. Okay. All right, so let's just wait till this downloads properly. Give it 1 second. It takes time. I'm not sure that this should have been done quickly, but again, we'll wait. We'll wait while I work through this problem here. My license seems fine. You know, I have my license here. It should be ready to go. There's no issues with both licenses. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the licenses and remove plan 1 first from uh, admin center and Visio plan 1. That's part of it. It's not part of it. So Visio. Okay. We'll wait for this to work. So I'm just gonna, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna sign out. I'm gonna sign out, and I'm gonna sign back in. It says that it has um, a license already available, which is good, which is what I want. Um, and it looks like it's works fine. All right, so let's go ahead and close this. Um, while this installs, it looks like this is still installing. This might take a little bit of time, but I want to ensure that um, I'm able to sign in. We're in the 9th hole. We're almost there. Uh, Looking for that birdie putt. Be patient, and hopefully we'll get there. All right. Okay. See what happens now. So I'm logged into my M365 cloud, and installing my client app. We're just waiting for that to be hopefully completed. Installing in the background. We're at 2%. I'm going to go to apps again, and I'm going to click on Visio, and let's see. So I've never seen this error before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Google and I'm going to look it up because I've never seen this before. So we could try another browser. Okay, there we go. Fair enough. We could, or we can log into the work profile, and as we log into the work profile, it should be able to give that. So that's a secondary option we can try. So I'm going to go ahead and um, and I'm going to, there we go. Okay. So I'm going to go to portal.office.com here, right, which is my portal. And I'm going to sign in with my and while that's installing in the background, that might take a little bit of time, but I'm trying to. This is where we can resolve the issue together and troubleshoot. As architects, obviously, we have our engineers or assist admins or assist or service desk troubleshooting these errors, but as this happens in your own environment, you should be able to troubleshoot it yourself in certain scenarios. Why not, right? As enterprise architects, principal architect solutions, we come up with different and variety of solutions in these aspects. But again, when there's issues like this, you should put on your system admin hat on, or your engineer hat on, or pinky finger ring, iron ring that you gained from your engineering background, and do this. Uh, if you had your own, obviously, if you had admin access, right? But if you didn't, you'd have somebody else do it for you. But in my environment, I train. I do this for a living um, as an architect as well. I am an admin. I'm a global admin, so I should be able to do this on my own. Right, and I'm going to go ahead and approve the sign in. I'm going to try another browser. Hopefully this works. And I'm going to sign in from my device. And then once we're done here, I'm going to show you, I want to show you how to get Plan 2 working for you. That way you guys it's ready for you. And I also want to show you how to install um, Failover Cluster Manager, which is important for Quorum. Let's see what happens now. All right, so there is an issue with creating a new drawing. Why? Okay. So I have to troubleshoot that, but well, let's go ahead and then download this fastly and quickly. See if we can get the client app working. Again, look out for the description video for, um, let's see if I can open. Click on this. No, see, create a new drawing from. This is searching for that and see what happens here. Um, so again, like I said, and maybe because I'm not signed in, right? Or it could be just a worker's group. Again, I don't want to troubleshoot this over too much. I can get one of my engineers to do that, but I'm going to try to install the client app. And if I do come up with a solution, I'll let you know in the comment section. I just want to show you the different stencils being used because it's an awesome feature. Um, you can just Google it if you guys want. Would have been nice for me to put it in the video, but again, doesn't matter. All right, so I'm going to go to Visio now. And and then I can sign in. Okay, I see what the issue is. Okay, so I'll okay. Yeah, see, I did install it. Um, I'm in here. Let's see if it'll work now. Hopefully, it should work now. Take some time. Please try again later. Okay. All right, guys. I guess it's not working for me. So I'm gonna go back and I'm going to sign out. Um, no problem. I'll be right back. I want to fix this problem for you guys. I want to make sure that you guys are able to see this on video and capture the experience. and resolve this yourselves if this does happen to you. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm just going to stop sharing. I will be back. And this is where I'm going to activate. So basically I need to activate. So what's going on in the background is I'm activating um, my Office subscription with my license subscription. And I think there was a little bit of a correlation between the two licenses for the client app. So that might have caused an issue. So I'm logging in. Log in. And that should now activate it. Perfect. Let's see what happens now. Put the password in. Sign in with my authentication. Oh, I put the wrong one. All right, so I'm going to try again. What happens here? Okay, there we go. Put that. Request again. Sending another request. There we go. All right, approved. There we go. Nope. There we go. So that should fix the problem now. There's my agreement. I did not accept it. Close it. And hopefully in the background, you guys won't see this, but let me now share. All right, there you go. Should be able to see the metrics or the units, whatever units I want, create it. And there's my Visio Professional. Hopefully now I should have my Azure basic shapes. So let's see if we have my Azure shapes. Let's see. There we go. So here are all my Azure icons, stencils that I need, right? Enterprise drawings stencils that I can use. Um, I can download these. Shapes and stencils and cloud and enterprise drawings. So I'm going to open that one. And I'm going to That's my color chart, my Pantone colors, which is what I like. Okay, and then what else do I got? I got different shapes here in the cloud. So if I go back to Azure Online, these are my cloud symbols that I can now download, which is what I wanted to show you guys yesterday. So there are my Pantone colors. And I have my open up my Microsoft Azure Cloud. And this is where I have my auto scaling button that I can use for my drawings, my architectures, right? If I want, then I can use my availability set, Azure Active Directory, and draw my designs, right? To scale, which is what I want. And, I can then put in my AutoCAD drawings if I'd like, right? And which is what I want. And there we go. I can put my pointers here, right? Put my pointers here with my points, my different shapes, right? If I want to go from here to here, right? So So here you go. Here you have it. This is what I wanted to show you guys. Then obviously we have our basic shapes, right? We can always use our basic shapes. Let me call out more shapes, basic shapes, right? I have all my engineering shapes if I want to use it. Again, with time, in time, right? You have your arrow shapes, right? You can use your different arrow shapes, double line arrow, dotted line arrow, right? That should now work perfectly fine. So if I were to grab my line arrow, right, I should now double click on it. That should give me a little bit, make this a little bit thicker. All right. Well, this isn't a design course, but again, this is basically how you're doing it. And again, you just gotta grab your arrows and right, and then that's how you would do that. And then I have my basic shapes, which is another thing that we could use. Um, More shapes, right? We have our engineering shapes, our electrical engineering shapes, our mechanical engineering shapes, process engineering. Then we have our network locations, right? Which is something that's cool. Active Directory sites, right? I can use that for my Active Directory sites in my domain. So I can add my domain sites here if I want. Um, right? And then play around with the different shapes that are there. Then I have my 2D, right? Right. And then select tool here. There we go. There we go. If I double click on it, oh, there you go. So I should be able to play with my shapes this way. So you guys kind of get the gist. This is just this isn't a design course. I can add my WAN sites, I can add my cloud sites, I can add my Azure cloud sites. I can give it, these are the actual icons that are being used right now. Um, you know, and I also have my more shapes, and like I showed you, I have my networks, I have my network locations, my Kubernetes, my Exchange objects, right? So I can use this for Exchange servers. my mailbox store, my DMZs. I can even shape for DMZ. This has everything you need. Um, my favorite. I've been using it for a long time. I just haven't used it in a while. But again, this isn't a design course, so this is about quorum, right? And quorums and stuff. So you guys get the gist of it. Get your professional version. Get your subscription. Try it out for 60 days. Use it for your projects, your meetings, your it's a great tool. There's other tools too you can use. Like there's draw.io. I showed you guys how to use draw.io. You can download that. Flowmaker, it's free. Um, and you can add it into your Google environments. Simple, right? Very simple. Um, there's different ones that you can use too. But again, basically know um know when and what to use. Like this has AWS as well too. So like if I can search for my AWS, right, which is what I want to use, for example. So I'm going to use my Cloud One container, and this is all within, let's say, one Cloud One container, right? And then I can zoom out, and I can change the um, container format within here. I can uh, automatically resize, expand as needed, always fit the contents, right? And I can put everything in there. Then I have my databases, right? I have my databases. Right? So these are all obviously my shapes, right? And you are signing in, um, activating the license for that purpose, right? Um, and then what we'll do is we'll share it. We can share it to the cloud. We can share with people, email it or save it to the cloud. That's how that works. Okay, so going back to my PowerPoint presentation, right? And I'm going to open up my PowerPoint presentation. So so just make note again on how to draw and how not to draw. You can use whatever you want. I prefer paint. That's been my go-to for many years. But moving on to something better for you guys, and hopefully, we can continue to use this together while you're following my videos and training videos and whatnot. Uh, so just make sure that you guys have that prepared in the future and ready to go. So again, we talk about Quorum. Quorum is used a lot in the Failover Cluster Manager. And back to my next topic, we're going to install Failover uh, Cluster Manager role or feature in Server Manager, right? And then we'll hopefully get to showing you ECP, which is our Exchange control panel, right? And then hopefully I'll create a video on that too one day, but let's see if we can get this far. Um, Failover cluster, right? So you'll see the Failover cluster manager here. It's just a roller feature that we installed. And then we can manage our inventory and our databases within here, right? So what I'm going to do is open up my server, my SQL server. I don't know if the license is still available or not, but let's try. Should be working. So this is my ECP. All right, let's see what happens. Hopefully, should proceed. Okay. So some problems fixing it. Okay. Um, let's see what the issue is. Did I name it something? Okay. See if I can give it the name here. Uh, see what happens. I'm gonna put the ECP at the end here. See what happens. Does it work? Let's see. Let's see if the services are on too. Let's make sure that the services are running. Sometimes the services need to. Oh, what happened here? What did I do? Okay, well, I'll have to fix that another day. But uh, again, my ECP server, I'll have to focus on that another day. But let's get back to failover cluster. I'll just grab one of my machines now, one that's open here, and I will open up the server manager and then go to view, make this a little bit bigger, 25. So I'm going to go to tools and I need to look for failover cluster manager. It looks like I don't have it, right? So I'll go ahead and install it here. There's my server. Restart this machine. So go to dashboard. Within dashboard, add role or feature. I want to click next. This is a role-based or feature-based installation, not a remote desktop session or VDI. Uh, for VDI sessions, follow my videos in my cybersecurity folder. Right? And I will look for failover cluster. Let's see where that is. If I can find it here. Failover cluster, failover cluster. There it is. Okay, so this is a feature role that you're going to install. Feature that's required for failover clustering, and that'll give us our failover tools for and modules for PowerShell. So I'm going to add the feature and click next, and then install. GCP, Google. We have Google here too. There's my Google Cloud. Let's see. I think Google Cloud related GCP, Azure. These are some generic symbols Azure uses. Um, all right, availability sets. Okay. Buckets, subscriptions. It's got a lot of stuff here, so that's good. It's got a lot of uh, icons and stencils that I love to use, right? And here's my Office 365 icon. Right, perfect. Has a lot of great features, even Exchange stuff, Exchange server. So it's got everything that you need and more. Um, and we can export this to a Word document. Kind of cool too. Let's see, let's sign into the server. While it's downloading. So it looks like the go back to that server. Cluster is, let me start this one as well too. Could be my Active Directory. Boing. All right. So this is my Exchange server, one of my Exchange servers that I created a while back. A while back. Uh, I wanted it to work for you guys, but it's taking forever. Little problem here, guys. Give it 1 second, okay? I'll be right back. That's okay. So I'm not going to start this machine here. This is just taking a little bit too time. Not a good day for me today. Um, and I apologize for this, as I have so much I want to show you guys. Um, so again, I'm trying to install the failover cluster. It looks like it's just stopped. So, just make sure you understand that the different core models are what they're there for and how they used, and what they're used for, right? So especially in different DAG groups, where normally not the right, you have a vote majority. Normally, it's not the right group. You can use, you want to make sure that if you have in a node majority or quorum, if the majority of servers, SQL or Exchange servers are up, then the cluster services will stay up. So if we lose that majority, then the cluster services will be down, right? So and then no one can connect to anything anymore, right? So if you had one Exchange server, that would be equal to one node, right? So one of the Exchange servers is equal to one node, right? So this Exchange server with the database is one node. If I had five, then it would be five nodes. So when we talk about nodes, we talk about servers. You'll hear that word a lot too, right? So in an odd number of servers, you'll have a node majority. If the node majority of servers are up, um, you know, are usually up, right? And an even amount, um, you know, even number of servers, obviously, uh, you would have you even if it was just a file server or a web server or a print server, you'll have, let's say, four down in an even number, right? You have six total of four down. Four down, it loses its majority, which means that there's no more emails. Um, you know, uh, no more exchange connectivity, no more connectivity exchanges. So this is where you would have that extra server just in case, and then we'll like you in different models you design it how you want, but just make sure that you're following those rules. In a vote majority rule, it's also called the node and file, right, or server file share majority. If one of those nodes were to go down and it were to crash, for example, in our instance here, you'll still have that majority of servers or ECP servers that are up, so those mailboxes can keep connecting to the DI groups in exchange. And that's a totally different topic. But again, having that quorum uh, set up, hopefully I can show you that. Hopefully, what's going on here? Okay, I lost connectivity. Okay, so this is failure features installation is complete. So I'm going to click on close. And I'm going to click on the flag here, and I'm going to go to the add features. Well, no, that's done. It's on my server. And if I go to my tools now, I should have my failover cluster. And it should also be located here in the start menu, right? So I can restart server manager. Let's see. Okay, there you go. I want to restart this machine now. Um, all right. Just refreshing it. Installation has succeeded. So here's my failover cluster manager. And again, this is where I can create my clusters. I can create or connect to a cluster. And when I'm creating a cluster, this is where Quorum comes in, right? And you'll see this once you create it, right? So I'll just have to enter anything, right? So if I had, I would make sure that I have this connected, right, to the location that I'm at in my Active Directory, right? So I can go advanced, and obviously my Active Directory isn't connected, or else I would see a lot more. See if I can check. Ah, see, it won't. It won't. I can't add anything in here. Again, I would either create or connect to it, right? And then I would select a server, and this isn't a good idea to show you, but again, this is, um, you can validate the configuration, right? Right? You can validate the configuration. So for example, I would put whatever in general. I would put the name of it and browse, right? Browse the location that's there. And then I would click OK, and then I would add it and then click next, 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 and finish. And if you look at my picture here, you'll note when I'm creating the cluster, I've added my nodes, right? So you'll see that I've added my nodes. Um, you'll see that I've added my nodes. I've added the cluster, right, that I have too. And I've added the IP addresses that are included, and then my cluster disk, right? So when I'm creating my node and disk majority, I've added my cluster disk, right? And that's a vote majority rule, right? Because I'm adding two of them, and more for file share, right? So again, node and disk majority, as we discussed, node and disk majority, where each node and shared disk gets a vote. So you'll have a witness disk that's there available, right? And we'll have an even amount of number of nodes, right? So it should be 2, 4, 6, or 8. Um, in a node majority quorum, we need to ensure that we have, you know, an odd number of nodes, right? So 3, 1, well, it'll have to be 3, 5, 7, and 9, right? And so forth. So you'll have, and it would be an odd amount. So, you'll have n is equal to odd numbers. So 1, 3, 5, and 7, right? Well, not 1, but you would need um, half the nodes there, right? Or even 9 to 9, 9, or even 11, right? Whereas even amount is where n is equal to uh, 2, 4, 6, and 8, and so forth, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Okay, let's go back. Hopefully this finishes in time, but you would create the cluster that way. Unfortunately, I can't show you here, but um, you would have to enter in the name of the server as per the picture I showed you, right? And then you would get the access point for administering the cluster, confirming it, creating the quorum for it, and so forth, right? Um, yeah, that's it. That's it for now. We can also validate our failover cluster, right? And enter in this validate the server or set of servers or add names of servers, and then we can test an existing cluster and then add the name of the cluster or even one of its nodes, right? Um, and then lastly, I want to talk about what can we talk about? Um, a scenario where multi-cluster with file share before we end today's topic. And I'm gonna create a drawing for you guys to show you um, what my design would look like. Okay, so back to quorum. So if I were to close this, so if I were to grab a blank sheet, all right, let's create a new one. All right, so here's my new, create a new one. So let's create a basic diagram. Create. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna denote again my uh, servers. Um, and I'm going to format, see if I can format the shapes. So I'm going to no fill, and then I want to uh, create the thickness, and I will give it that, and I'll make it black. All right, so here's one server, right? Copy and paste that, right? So here's my other server, right? So these are my three servers. Let's say these are my three servers. These are my three servers. And what well, we'll say three, but in a multi-site cluster with file share witness, typically there's a total of four, but actually, you know what, let's do four servers just to make it um, consistent, right? With an even amount. So I'll have two in site A and two in site B kind of approach, because there's many different approaches, right? So different sites as well too. And in my scenario with a multi, let's see if I can put in a text box here. This will be a scenario, architecture scenario, um, with a multi-site cluster uh, with file share, right? And that's obviously your vote majority and your quorum, not your quorum, but your vote majority, right? So, um, and that'll be a witness. Obviously, you'll have the witness. So imagine, you know, you have two sites, right? Have four machines, and you're the right. Okay, right. And I will. Right, you have your site A and your site B, right? So this is going to be site A, right? right? And within, and this is going to be site B. You have your site A, and then you'll have your site B. So this is your site B, right? This will be your site B. Doesn't matter where it is, right? You know, you have a total of four in this architecture, right? And as an example, right? And again, there's a total. There's two in site A, and then there's two in site B. There's no shared storage between this site. Um, there's a file witness that's configured at a third site, right, which is called site C now, for example, right? Just to kind of give you an example. And if I can make this a little bit bigger. All right. Nine, a little bit bigger, 21 by 29. 29 by 29. I can make this bigger. There we go, just a little bit bigger. And I'm going to shrink it a little bit so I can add a third site now. I want to add a third site. And this is where our witness server is going to be, right? And this is where that file share for that witness server, and again, insert, I'm going to insert a horizontal and home witness, right? So this is where our witness is laying in our sites, right? Just to kind of give you an idea, right, of how, or even in the cloud too. So this can also be somewhere in the cloud. Um, Again, it doesn't have to be on premises, but it can also be in the cloud as well too. And our core model in a node and file share majority is in node A, right? You have one vote, right? You'll have a vote here. Let's see if I can get my arrow arrow shapes. Get you a better arrow here. All right. And I will give it a red color, hopefully. Fill red. And I'll give it a thicker weight. Okay. So you have your three sites, you have your three sites, right? Um, Total of 6 nodes in this example, or 4 nodes in this example, with between your two sites. So you have your two in site A, 1 and 2, and then two in site B. There's no shared storage between the sites. So how do we get shared storage? You need to configure a third site. So in our third site, on again in the cloud, it could be on any site or even in Azure or AWS. It doesn't matter where it is. You'll have that third site. And within that third site, in a multi-site cluster, in that third site is where our file share witness is going to be. Now, in our nodes, right, for our node models to work in a node and file share witness, we talked about the following. We talked about in a node and disk majority file share, each node and file share witness gets the vote. So we need a file share witness to get the vote. It's used in a multi-site, and again, this could be geographically dispersed for latency, application availability, and application and replication. And this is our limitations across our sites, right? So if we were to talk about okay, so if we were to talk about voting, right? So we get a vote here, right? In our in our node A, and then in our node B within our site A, we're getting a vote there. In our node in our site B, node C, we get a vote, right? And then in our site B, node D, we get a vote too. Now, what else gets a vote, right? We know that in a quorum, right, of total 5 votes, because our shared vote would come into, let's see if I can just draw a line. See if I can just draw a line there. We don't need this, so this is not needed right now. There's only 5 total. So we'll say there's 5 total. These are all working, right? So in our quorum, our 5 quorum, we need 3 votes minimum for it to work, right? What if site A loses? What if site A, in a failover scenario, what if site A loses power, right? So nodes A and C are off, or A and B are off, right? In site B, we have C and D, right? Which is 2 votes, right? And then we have 1 vote for our file share witness, right? So we have a vote here, right? Let me see if I can draw. Um, so we have a vote here, right? Right. We have a vote here, right? So this is off, right? This is off, right? So we get 2 votes, 1, 2, and then we get a vote for 3. Now, in a quorum, the cluster stays online at site B, right? So this is what's active right now. So this is what's active. As this was active before, right? And passive or standby, this now becomes the active server, right? So site B becomes the active server with our witness intact, right? And our cluster stays online at site B. So our clusters, see if I can get a cluster here, picture. Hopefully I have it, a cluster picture. Uh, a local cluster picture here, icon, cluster. Let's say cluster. Yeah, let's just use this, whatever. So this is our virtual cluster, right? So what happens is, but our cluster at site B stays online, right? So this will have a cluster, this will have a cluster, this will have a cluster. So if this file share witness was unavailable too, right? In this instance, if it was unavailable too, so this goes down, right? There's only 2 votes, right? So the remaining nodes would only have 2 votes. So right now you have 1 and 2. So that means that there's no quorum. Now, what happens in that instance? The cluster shuts down. Okay. And that's what happens in a failover scenario, right? So if this loses power, right, you lose power here, right? In our nodes A and B, or A, C, B, D, whatever you want, like whatever. This could be node 1. If I can write a text, see if I can add text here. So again, this is A, B, C, D, E, right? And think of this as go back to here, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so Okay, so going back to our diagram here, our active fails, fails over to our passive machine, and our passive machine becomes active. So that would mean that the remaining nodes, C and D, have 2 votes with no quorum. So that means that there's a no quorum here, right? No quorum. And I will insert a text box, okay? And this means that there's no quorum. Okay. The key benefits of this, again, in a failover, again, if site A loses the power in a failure scenario, then nodes A and B are offline. Site B, which C and D, you'd have 2 votes. All right. Our file witness share 1 vote, so you have 3 votes total. Right, 3 votes total. Where a cluster stays on at site B. But if the file share witness was unavailable too, again, the remaining nodes would have only 2 votes based on what we talked about in our architecture of no quorum, right? So our cluster shuts down. The key benefits: there's no need for shared storage between sites, right? Between our sites A, B, and C. Um, it's ideal for a cloud hosted or a hybrid cluster, right? Again, this is on premises or in the cloud. So this can be on premises or in the cloud, right? So we'll say this is in a hybrid scenario, in a hybrid scenario, right? Right, because it could be both. It could be, doesn't have to be on premises, right? Um, as architects, we want to talk about the load balancing also, but we also want to talk about how cost effective this is for tiebreakers. So this does offer a simple and cost effective mechanism for tie breaking. Um, you know, and then we can easily place a neutral third location, which is what we're doing in here. Our witness server, right? We'll just have that third location, and that'll be physically or logically um, available geographically available at a site for that instance, and it would work in a way where our architecture would work in case anything happens, right? So if there was a failover that happened, then you know our my multi-site cluster diagram with file share witness in a hybrid scenario that might work with uh, with a failover scenario. So uh, when we talk about, again, quorum clusters, um, there's ways of creating PowerShell for, you can create your PowerShells scripts for engineers, right? Um, you know, for this, there's proper shares and TFS shares that you might have to sign. You might have to create your own NAS or Cloud VM and share specific NTFS permissions. Um, and here, all right. So, you know, uh, grab that here. Okay, so we can grab our NTFS shares, right? And within these drives or within these nodes, we can create they're called NTFS permissions, right? Right, there's our NTFS permissions on that are sitting on our physical disks. Um, and you can share those. We just call them cluster add name objects or CNOs, right? Where you can um, give full control to a folder, right? Or to a share. And we can add the same name objects with full control access, right? That's something totally different in this scenario. Again, you can create PowerShell scripts for this. You can configure file share witness within any cluster node or management workstation, as long as you verify the status of the quorum afterwards, right? So that's important, right? You have your FI disk. Um, Again, you can create these in PowerShell. You can automate these scripts to configure these shared witnesses, but again, manually is typically um, how I'm going to show you. I've done it manually. Doesn't mean that all of them have to be done manually, but again, it's always good to know how to do it both ways and how you can automate this stuff. Just ensure that you're remoting in to it's enabled. You're remoting your PowerShell remoting on your witness file share, right? So your file share. Um, and now you're replacing no names with IP addresses and assuming that your clusters already exist in AD and created automatically. Um, what else can I talk about? Uh, so just remember that witness. The witness is the tie-breaking vote. So when you have a disk witness, which is your shared storage disk, in a witness, you have your file share witness and you have your cloud. So you can have an Azure-based or an AWS-based witness for hybrid environments. You can also have a file share witness, which is a file share accessible by all nodes, right? Again, this could be in the cloud or on premises. When we talk about architectural, um, right? I want to look at a few things. I want to talk about uh, effectiveness and pricing, right? Because what is this going to cost you? How effective is this going to be, right? What, can we sell this idea, right? Um, you can draw and design this, but is it highly available, right? And HA highly available, right? Can this like how does this reduce downtime? Um, you know, when we need to automatically manage these node failures, right, or these servers, um, or high availability. Then we talk about, protection and data protection, right? Um, Using the quorum check list that we showed you with the votes and the majorities. How can this prevent data corruption? Because data prevention does happen, right? And corruption does happen, but how can we use these quorum majority checks um, in your architectural effectiveness and pricing, right? Then we look at scalability, right? Scalability, how scalable by terms of scaling up, it's going down. Like, can we scale out without interruptions? Like, how efficient are these quorum designs? How does this enable our scale out? Right? Again, like I said, with service interruptions. So scalability is important. Then we talk about costs, right? Like our costs. We look at our nodes, we look at hardware, we look at software, for example, Windows Server, AWS costs in the cloud or on premises. Uh, our configuration for a witness, our third site, minimal cost for file share, our medium disks, fees that we're going to be paying within our cloud environments. These are some cost considerations that we're going to be looking at too, right? So we're looking at server nodes. Right? Then we have our witness configuration, right? Our third site config. And we have shared storage, right? That's something like even if there is any, right? If available or applicable. Then we have our infrastructure, our network, infra, right? And again, when we talk about the server nodes, what do we talk about? I just mentioned hardware, right? Licensing. For your operating system for OS. Uh, and then when we have our witness configuration, right, based on our drawing, right, we look at the minimal cost that the witness server in site C for file share, our medium cost factors for disk, right, our Azure or AWS cloud fees, right, if this is uh, an actual cloud environment, our cloud data center, right? In our cloud data center, we got to look at those fees as well too. Again, this could also, work both ways, right? But having that specific um, proposal in your proposal when you're doing that, so it's important. So file share, we have to look at cost for file share, right? Disks and cloud fees, right? Then shared storage, another cost consideration, our third point, if there was any in the begin with, right? Our on-premises system, like we have our SAN and our NAS, right? And these are some considerations to look at versus on-premises versus cloud, right? Having your SAN or NAS can be expensive, but being able to um, work with your cloud providers and call the cloud providers and call your um, providers like Dell, HP, uh, Lenovo, right? And ask for these questions, right? Um, it can be expensive, but weigh your options. Then lastly we talk about the infrastructure, right? Or the infra. Our infrastructure needs switches. It needs subnets for that. You know, these are some examples like switches, right? For redundancy, right? It's going to cost you. And it's important, right? When you're designing these, because you have to understand that, you know, you have a lot of data to protect, right? And you want to prevent data corruption, so making sure that you have those majority checks in place are 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 valid, right? And within our site diagrams, our three sites, right? Doesn't matter where it's placed geographically, but again, know that they're in a location and you have this witness. Uh, this picture 5. I don't want to confuse you guys. I want to get rid of this fifth diagram here, right? So again, this could be any site, but it's our witness site. It could be geographically anywhere in availability zone or in a region, um, right? And again, that witness directory doesn't have to be a non-exchange. It doesn't have to be an exchange, or it could be a non-exchange server. It doesn't have to be um, for that. Remember, the tie brings witness directory is your tiebreaker, right? So it doesn't mean that it takes down the services. So when we are designing your quorum in a server architecture, we're going to be using our known majority for odd number clusters, right? No shared storage. We can also use a, a basic file share witness, as you can see in our diagram, in our multi-cluster. We can use cloud witness for hybrid environments, right? And again, we're looking at the cost effectiveness and how cost effective and reliable it is, right? And we want to, unless we're going for backward compatibility, we never want to use our disk only quorum, right? And we talked about what disk only quorum is, right? Right, our no majority, and that's not recommended for single point of failure. So our shared disk is out single point of truth, is our single point of truth, right? So we don't want to use that for our use this type of majority for that specific reason, right? We want to avoid that, right? But again, for cost availability considerations for cost effective and reliability, yeah, we want to, we can use our cloud witness in a hybrid or cloud environment. Just remember, it doesn't have to be an exchange. It doesn't have to be an Exchange server. It doesn't have to be an SQL server for it to be a directory, a witness directory. Just remember, when we talk about quorum, it's the minimum number of votes that needed to keep our server cluster running, right? Our clusters need to run. They need to be running at all times. So it's important. We need to make sure that we, in a use scenario for architecture, we need to make sure that we're maintaining availability and consistent in failover clustering. And I showed you the different views, the advanced views that are there, right? That we can use in our picture here, right? We have to look at our ranging from low to high for enterprise environment or file share low or enterprise SAN or just Azure usages, usage fees that cost. And I think I showed you guys how to use the calculator for that. You just need to type in um, Azure SAN usage calculator, right? So hopefully it'll have our Elastic SAN for an example, and we can, you know, base on LRS or ZRS region, your closest region to where you are. If you're in the States, right? And then you can grab the currency of your location. So if you're in Brazil, Brazil, your region closest to Brazil, right, would be Brazil South. If you are in Canada, Canada Central or Canada East, right, based on your LR redundancy levels, right? And again, Elastic SAN is sort of like our storage area network um, in Azure, and that offers our end-to-end experience. Like I said, it scales performance, cost effective, and takes advantage of capabilities such as high availability, like we spoke before too, right? So here's some pricing again. If we're in the States, let's say back to US Central, for example, this will give us the premium base unit. And again, for example, if we're provisioning an Elastic SAN with 20 base units of 20 terabytes, over, which is almost 100,000 IOPS, which is more than enough. Like we can even have millions, tens and billions if we wanted. We're looking at 4,000 megabytes per second. Then delete it after 20 hours. Again, will be billed only for the 20 hours at the monthly rate listed, right? For LRS. And we can choose to provision these Azure Elastic SANs um, with a combination of a base or just capacity units that'll best fit our needs. So if we're looking at a price calculation of 730 hours per month, you're looking at $93 a unit at 1 terabyte, which is an equivalent of not even one penny are less than a penny, so 10, 100,000, you know, of a penny uh, per hour, right? And again, please feel free to talk to your specialist. We should have a better understanding. They're available Monday to Friday, or view the regional phone numbers for your location, right? Um, so here's your pricing calculator, right? You just got to look for it, SAN, right? You can have your scale sets, elastic SAN. You're looking at monthly costs for virtual machines, right? You're going to look at your virtual machines, uh, right? And then you're going to enter in, plus you get the 200 credit free if you haven't used it yet, um, right? So these are some options for free amounts. We can try this for free, and you know, for the popular services such as your B1 standard tier B1 machines, um, you know, your compute, your savings, your licensing included, your reservations, managed disks. Again, you can add this all into your calculator. And again, if you need help, talk to sales. But that's how that works. And lastly, we talked about costs, right? Between our file share and our our ranging from low to high, which is our low is our file share, and our high, which is our Azure or our enterprise SAN solutions. We lastly want to talk about our best practices, right? So we need to make sure that we match our quorum modes to the environment, and we're testing for failover scenarios regularly because that is important, right? And I want to make note of that. So match your quorum modes to your own environment and test for failover scenarios regularly, right? So I'm going to end it for today. I want to thank you guys for your time, um, and appreciate um, you guys watching and sticking around. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below, or leave a question in my on demand uh, video. Usually these videos are on demand and they'll be available after for usage. Again, if you're interested in learning more, please give me a contact for pricing and for training. I do I do group training for your work environment. So if your business needs me to come on site or remotely train your users, I also do that as well too. So please feel free to message me. If you are doing these labs, I do want you guys to follow along and send me your snapshots and detailed information of what you did with your name and your last name showing visibly, so I know that you did it. And leave a comment, let me know how I'm doing. I'd love to hear from you guys. Okay, so I'm just going to sign off for now. Again, my name is Sal. I'm your cloud architect, trainer, and future MCT. Have yourself a great day, guys, everyone, and have a great weekend. Talk to you soon. Bye.